Unit 1 Hunting and Gathering Structure 1.1 Introduction 1.2 Evolution of Modern Humans 1.3 Study of Hunting-Gathering Cultures 1.3.1 Major Aspects of Study 1.3.2 Question of Periodization and Spread of Early Cultures 1.4 Development of Tools 1.4.1 Lower Paleolithic, Oldovian and Acheulean Tools 1.4.2 Middle Paleolithic, Mousterian Tools 1.4.3 Upper Paleolithic Tools 1.5 Habitation and Way of Life 1.6 Arts and Communication 1.7 Summary 1.8 Exercises 1.1 Introduction Life on Earth began about 3,000 million years ago. The life which started from a simple cell form developed into complex living beings in thousands of species. All these living beings have been changing and developing over time. The present-day humans have also evolved from primates who lived about 55 million years ago. They had some characteristics similar to us. Till about the end of the 18th century it was believed that all life on Earth has existed as it is since the beginning of life and that all life including plants and animals was the creation of God in this form. It was only in the late 18th and early 19th century that scientists began to put forward the views that the nature and life have changed over millions of years. It was argued that the present life forms have evolved through various forms and that many of these are now extinct. When Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1892, put forward the theory of biological evolution in 1860, it influenced the thinking of large number of scientists and scholars. Now, the evolution of modern humans from a common ancestor was an area which became focus of researches and a number of discoveries were reported from different parts of the world. With the help of archaeological findings and anthropological researches it can be said with some amount of certainty that modern humans have had many ancestors with common biological characteristics. The whole question of human evolution has two major aspects. The first is the biological evolution and the second social and cultural evolution. The former is to be studied mainly through the changes which have taken place in the facial features, musculature, the structure of bones, limbs, toes, fingers, and cysts of brain etc. of humans from the earliest forms. The latter is concerned with the changes in the way humans adapted to their immediate environment to arrange their food, the way they lived, their interaction and communication with fellow humans etc. through various phases and forms of their biological evolution. Before you move on to study the above referred to aspects of human evolution, we would like you to carefully go through the methods and sources which we have discussed along with the introduction of Block 1. Apart from the sources 13 early human societies listed in the introduction to this block, the scholars have used another important source for the study of hunting-gathering people. This pertains to the study of many such groups living in isolated pockets in contemporary times in almost similar conditions and environments as our hunting-gathering ancestors lived. Many researchers lived with them to understand their modes of hunting-gathering, way of living, rituals practiced and other aspects of their culture. Examples of such groups are Eskimos of Arctic of North America, Athabascan hunters of Canada, Pygmies of the African Congo, the Bushmen of South Africa, some groups of Australian Aborigines, the Semang of Malay Peninsula and certain tribes of Andaman Islands of India. 1.2 Evolution of modern humans. Before we take up the study of the societies which depended on hunting and gathering as a mode of subsistence, we would like to provide a very brief account of the evolution of modern humans, Homo sapiens sapiens. In the beginning of this unit we had mentioned that the present-day humans have come into existence as a result of passing through various stages of evolution. Let us now take up these various stages through which this process had taken place. 14 Around 60 million years ago some of primates, the order to which our ancestors belonged, acquired important characteristics that were to be found later in humans. The position of the thumb, frontally arranged eye sockets and dentition similar to humans were some of the characteristics that are noticeable in various fossil finds. On the basis of biogenetic data it is now believed that around 5 or 6 million years ago the Hominidae branch, Australopithecus and Homo, separated from that of the Pongidae, chimpanzee and gorilla. According to Eve Coppens, the collapse of Rift Valley, separating East and South Africa from Central and West Africa, was the cause of this dichotomy. The Pongidae remained in the humid zone of Western and Central Africa, gorillas and chimpanzees, the descendants of Pongidi, still live there, while hominidae lived in large and open environments of East and South Africa. They adapted to their new surroundings and their remains are found mainly in this region. It is here that the hominidae became bipedal around 3.5 to 4 million years ago, the most important stage in the process of hominization. The standing position affected the anatomy of the hominidae. The foot became the main organ of propulsion, while hand, now freed from the task of walking, could be used for other activities. Its increased dexterity was a necessary prerequisite for making tools. The period from 3.5 million years to 1.5 million years ago saw the emergence of dichotomy between Australopithecines and Homo. The process of development is not unilinear and was much more complex. One of branches evolved as Homo habilis, probably the first tool makers. They were mainly confined to Africa. The next stage of evolution of humans is identified as Homo erectus with some distinct anatomical features. In the light of the available fossils, Leakey estimated that they lived 1.5 million years to around 300,000 years ago when Homo sapiens began to emerge. Unlike Homo habilis, whose bones have been found only in Africa, the evidence for the presence of Homo erectus has been found in a number of areas like Europe, Western Asia, Southern Asia, China, and Indonesia. According to Richard E. Leakey, the skeleton of Homo erectus was essentially modern. A little stockier than the average human today, perhaps, but not all that different. The head and face, however, were still primitive. The forehead sloped backwards and was mounted with prominent brow ridges, while the brain, though larger than that of Homo habilis, was only 70% of the size of a Homo sapiens brain. The face protruded less than in Homo habilis, but it was not as flat or tucked in as in Homo sapiens. The chin that is so characteristic of modern humans was present but poorly developed, the making of mankind p.110-112. The transition from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens was again gradual and is different in various regions in terms of the period of existence and physical features. The Homo sapiens again evolved through a gradual process in different regions. In Europe and some other regions developed a different branch termed Neanderthalensis. The first fossil was found in Neander Valley in Germany. They disappeared around 35,000 years ago without leaving separate line of descendants. Hunting and gathering in all of the world, Homo sapiens emerged in different periods. In Europe it is 40,000 years ago where Neanderthals survived side by side. About the process of evolution from Homo erectus to Homo sapiens, Leakey says, if one views the evolution of the Homo line as having more to do with the program of cultural capabilities than with environmental condition, then it is possible to imagine that Homo erectus populations throughout the world became more and more dependent on the development and exploitation of technology, and that this created its own selection pressure that propelled the species towards Homo sapiens. In each part of the world where there had been Homo erectus, there would eventually arise an early grade of Homo sapiens. As selection pressure continued through the demands of culture, each population of early Homo sapiens ultimately emerged as Homo sapiens, modern man. p. 156, Fig.1, skulls of various human species left to right, 1. Homo habilis, 2. Homo erectus, 3. Homo sapiens, 4. Homo sapiens. The modern humans have evolved through a long and complicated process of hominid evolution and of the biological formation of human genus. Paleoanthropologists have studied the process through the changes in physical characteristics. Archaeological discoveries and scientific developments help us to understand this process. Bohuslav Klima has studied the process in detail, see box. The Upper Paleolithic cultures are connected with humans of the Homo sapiens type, representing the result of a long and complicated process of hominid evolution and of the biological formation of the human genus. The subject is the field of study of physical anthropologists, who at the same time look for reliable explanations for these processes. Such studies depend not only upon new archaeological discoveries, but also upon contemporary scientific developments. From the morphological point of view, hominid evolution embraces three functional complexes. The first group of features 15 early human societies includes changes in the shape of the thorax and the related release of the upper extremes, allowing rotating movement in the shoulder joint. The second complex influenced by the hunting way of life, is seen in erect stature and perfect bipedal locomotion, associated with morphological modifications of the pelvis and of the lower extremities. The third complex includes changes in the cranial morphology, especially increase in the cranial capacity and a shifting of the foramen magnum forwards and thus changes in the complex disposition of the head. Furthermore, it comprehends changes in dentition and, very important, final shaping of hand. The hand itself, together with the whole arm, changed so much that it became able to throw objects with great force and accuracy, using the mobility of the trunk carried by the pelvis and strong legs, under direct control of eyes. At the same time, the hand became sensitive enough to produce the most delicate objects and to imitate the beauty people observed around them and enjoyed. History of Humanity, Vol. IP 177. As far as cranial capacity is concerned, it is estimated that Australopithecus had a volume of brain round 400 to 500 cubic centimeters. This increased to 700 cubic centimeters in Homo habilis, to between 900 to 1100 in Homo erectus, and finally to between 1250, 1450 cubic centimeters in Homo sapiens. History of Humanity, Volume I, p.643, 1.3 Study of hunting-gathering cultures. Until the advent of agriculture, all human species made a living by gathering plant food and hunting. In last 100 years, archaeologists have found and unearthed a very large amount of artifacts, objects, and sites. 1.3.1 The major aspects of study. The available source material has helped archaeologists, anthropologists, and the scholars of prehistory